How to raise happy children? That's the question we're pondering today on The Art of Lifing with Keka and our special guest, Canada's first happiness doctor, Dr. Gillian Mandich. There's a lot of news headlines that, as a mom, scare me, to be honest, about self-harm, higher suicide rates among our younger generation. There is, it feels like so many young people are hurting today. And as a mom, my first inclination is wrap my kids in bubble wrap and hold them tight and don't let them go. And of course, that's not the way to approach things. And so, that feels like it's the opposite of helping somebody create a happy, healthy childhood. Knowing that we can't solve everything, do you have a few tips that parents can use? Part of it is discussion, but any other tips that we can use in our everyday lives to try to cultivate that practice of happiness in our kids?
Yes. So one of the things I think, first of all, is recognizing that our children are going to go through difficult things. And our job as a parent or a caregiver is not to take those difficult things away. It's to support them in the process of that and equip them with the best tools possible. So you can do that in a couple of ways. One, children, especially when they're younger, are like sponges. So they're watching everything you do. And it's like when you see a little girl wearing her mom's high heels around or putting on lipstick. So how do you handle your emotions? How do you, in your life, talk about your feelings? How do you show up when you're feeling those things? Because you can be very sure that your children or kids are watching you, and they're going to model that. So the first thing that we can do is model it in ourselves.
Right. Yes.
And then the other thing is, I think when we have conversations around things, when you bottle up emotions, that's when things can start to get a little bit more scary and dangerous. So really creating a safe space to have conversations like that. And that comes over time. So that comes with, and if you're sitting with your kids, say for example, your children, you're having dinner together, be present. So often, right, you're on your phone, put the phone away, talk, connect as humans. We're social creatures, we're meant to connect. And especially in a day and age where technology is becoming more and more prominent, taking that time to unplug and have those conversations is super, super valuable, because you're not going to know unless they tell you.
Right.
And you have to create a space where you're actually listening before you do that. The other thing that you can do is, a lot of happiness practices are skill-based or they're learned. And oftentimes I see, especially childhood and young adolescents, as this window of opportunity to create skills or instill values that then they can take throughout their life. Right. So you can start to do practices as a family that bring or cultivate happiness. So for example, one of my favorite ones is gratitude. Gratitude and happiness are highly correlated. Yeah. So you can start a practice, whether it's in the morning, if you're having breakfast together or having dinner together, going around the table and sharing things that you're grateful for. Yes. And so then that becomes part of the culture of the family or the household. Yeah. And when that happens, then they can start to take those things with them. Like if you think back about the things that you did when you were young, right? And then flip the switch, then that's a really key piece. It's just doing those small things that seem small, but actually are quite big, to help to give them the skills that will allow them to practice happiness.
I love that. And for me, I find with my kids, they're at the stage now where I'm taking them to karate and baseball and drumming and running. And we're constantly in that mode of going from class to class and place to place. And I want to give my kids those experiences. We really follow what their interests are and then go with them. But in the process of being overscheduled, we're sitting down for dinner and we want to all talk together. What I find is sometimes the most meaningful and most special, deep conversations happen when we're just hanging out, right? So it's not when I've got 5 minutes, I'll grab your something and then let's go. But, we're just hanging out, not much is happening. Because I'll pick up my kids from school and I'll say, hey, how was your day? It was good. Yep. And many parents have this, right? Well, tell me more. And I'm always like, good is not enough. I need more. And I'll literally, when they were little, I would joke with them. I'd be like, I'm going to have to tickle you if I don't hear more. And then they'd be like, okay. But, that became a joke and something fun. But they, if I sort of insisted that they tell me more, they'd be like, well, I had math class today and we did fractions and math, and that. But then once we hung out for a longer period of time where we're just hanging out and the energy's loose and we're sort of just there, that's when, Mom, and then I get all the gold from kids.
And you know what, I think the other thing, oftentimes they can be our best teachers. Our children can be our best teachers, because if you look, especially when they're younger, at what they do intuitively when they're going through emotions or having things, we can learn a lot from them. They play, they do all these things, they're social creatures. We can it's a two-way street, right?
Amazing. Okay, so spending time making those connections, creating those conversations, allowing our kids to face these emotions that they face, but just helping them, giving them the right tools, and practicing it ourselves, because we have to walk the talk. And most importantly, I think this is a big takeaway for me, is learn from our kids as well, right? It's not just a one-way street where we're downloading to our kids and saying, be happier. But we have to be happier ourselves. We have to practice that happiness so we can teach our kids to practice happiness. I love it. Thank you so much,
Thank
Gillian.
you.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content, then please like it and share it with anybody that you think might be interested in this content as well. I would also love it if you could subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every Tuesday. And last but not least, if you have any comments, I would love to have a conversation with you. Let's do this journey together. Let's master the art of lifing and really do life on purpose.